Meet Dan. Dan is a hard worker. In fact, when it comes to losing weight, Dan is doing everything the internet tells him is right. He wakes up at 5:30 a.m. sharp. He instantly chugs a massive tumbler of dark roast coffee. He laces up his running shoes and forces his body into a high-intensity, fasted cardio session before his stressful commute to the office. But take a look at Dan's belly. No matter how many miles he runs, no matter how many calories he cuts, that hard, stubborn, spare tire around his waist isn't going anywhere. In fact, the harder he works out, the more bloated and thick his midsection seems to get. Dan assumes he's just not working hard enough. He thinks his metabolism is broken, or worse, that he's just lazy. But the truth? Dan is chemically confused. Every single morning, within 30 minutes of waking up, Dan's intense routine is accidentally triggering a biological survival switch. He's sending a massive distress signal to his body, commanding it to lock away fat and brace for impact. If your mornings look anything like Dan's and your belly won't budge, stop running. You don't need a harder workout, you need a neurological reset. I'm Laura from BodyWise, and today Dr. Mark is here to reveal the hidden fat enzyme keeping you stuck and the 5-minute somatic ritual that physically forces your body to burn stubborn belly fat fast. Dr. Mark, welcome. So what exactly is happening inside Dan's stomach when he forces himself through this stressful, high-octane morning routine? Why won't the fat just burn?
Hello, Laura. To understand Dan's stubborn belly, we have to look past simple calories and look directly at his evolutionary biology. Specifically, a system called the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or the HPA axis. Most people think a stress belly means you just have too much of the stress hormone, cortisol, floating around in your bloodstream. But the science of visceral fat is actually incredibly localized. Deep inside Dan's abdomen, surrounding his vital organs, his fat cells contain a specific enzyme called 11-beta-HSD1.
11-beta-HSD1? What does that do?
Think of it as a localized stress amplifier and a biological padlock. This enzyme sits right inside the visceral fat cells. Its entire job is to take inactive cortisone and convert it into highly active cortisol, directly inside the fat tissue itself. When Dan blasts his body with physical and mental stress first thing in the morning, his brain perceives a threat, like a famine or a predator. In response, this 11-beta-HSD1 enzyme goes into overdrive. It hyperconcentrates cortisol right in the belly. This localized stress explicitly tells the body, we are in danger, do not burn energy, store it all right here in the deep abdominal cavity to armor and protect the vital organs.
So even if Dan feels mentally okay, his belly fat is literally building its own private supply of stress hormones? It's locking the fat inside on purpose?
Exactly. His fat cells are literally locked. As long as that enzyme is active, no amount of running will burn that visceral fat.
Okay, so Dan is accidentally turning on this biological padlock. What are the specific mistakes he is making before 8 a.m. that fuel this enzyme?
There are 3 massive errors in his morning protocol that are throwing gas on the fire. Mistake number 1 is hijacking the Cortisol Awakening Response. Cortisol is not evil. It's supposed to spike naturally within the first 45 minutes of waking to clear out sleep inertia. But Dan wakes up to a jarring alarm and immediately floods his system with panic about his workday and his intense workout. He turns a healthy, natural wake-up call into a 5-alarm biological fire, overstimulating the adrenal glands. Mistake number 2 is dehydration and the vasopressin trap. Dan hasn't consumed water in 8 hours. His blood is slightly dehydrated, which triggers the pituitary gland to release a hormone called arginine vasopressin, or AVP.
Wait, being thirsty causes stress?
Absolutely. AVP operates synergistically with stress hormones. It dramatically amplifies the release of cortisol. If Dan tries to push through a hard run while dehydrated, His body interprets this as a severe survival threat. And worse, if he drinks heavily salted water first thing in the morning because a fitness influencer told him to, the massive sodium influx acutely drives that AVP stress hormone even higher. Which leads to mistake number 3, immediate caffeine. Dan drinks coffee the second his feet hit the floor. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain, but consuming it immediately upon waking traps residual sleep chemicals in his brain and violently interrupts his natural hormone curve. This guarantees a massive energy crash by 2 p.m., prompting more coffee, more stress, and a tighter lock on his belly fat.
Okay, Dan's routine is a biochemical disaster. His fat cells are locked tight by that 11-beta enzyme. How do we break the lock? How does he actually burn the fat?
So we have to cut the power to the enzyme. And we do that using a bottom-up neurological approach. We use somatic movement.
Let's rebuild Dan's morning. Instead of a frantic run, we are implementing a daily 5-minute somatic ritual to physically force his nervous system into a state of safety.
Somatic movement isn't a workout. It is a mechanical signaling tool. By moving the body and breathing in specific ways, we stimulate mechanoreceptors that feed directly into the vagus nerve, the main superhighway of the parasympathetic rest and digest system. Here is how Dan breaks up his 5 minutes. Step 1 is the anchor. Dan performs a somatic posture known as constructive rest, holding this position for 1 full minute. He lies flat on his back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. This posture releases tension in the deep back muscles. By literally anchoring his spine to the floor for 60 seconds, he physically communicates gravity and safety to the brain, short-circuiting the cortisol release. Step 2 is the compression. Next, Dan transitions into child's pose and holds it for another full minute. He kneels, bringing his chest down to his thighs and resting his forehead on the floor. By gently compressing the anterior organs for 60 seconds and putting his head slightly below his heart, he mechanically massages the vagus nerve.
So he is physically pressing the off switch on his internal stress alarm?
Precisely. When the vagus nerve receives this compression signal, it tells the brain, the threat is gone, we are safe. The brain immediately cuts the power to the adrenal glands, and because the adrenaline drops, that localized 11-beta-HSD1 enzyme inside his belly fat starves. It powers down.
The padlocks on his visceral fat cells instantly pop open. The fat is now unlocked and ready to be oxidized.
To finalize the lockpicking, step 3 is the physiological break, cyclic sighing. For the remaining 3 minutes to complete his 5-minute ritual, Dan performs a specific breathing loop. He takes 1 long, deep breath in through his nose, and without letting any air out, he takes a second quick sniff of air to fully expand his lungs. Then, he lets out a long, slow sigh through his mouth. He repeats this continuous breathing loop for the full 3 minutes. This specific breathing cadence is the fastest way known to human science to dump carbon dioxide and halt the production of stress hormones in real time.
Okay, so the 5-minute somatic ritual has unlocked the fat. Dan's belly is primed to burn. How does he keep it burning for the rest of the day?
Now that the cells are open, we build a metabolic scaffold to support them. First, light. Within 60 minutes of waking up, Dan steps outside to get 10,000 lux of natural sunlight in his eyes. This properly sets his circadian clock, ensuring his metabolism runs hot all day long. Second, hydration. He drinks a large volume of plain water, no heavy salt, to immediately suppress that AVP stress hormone we talked about. Third, the caffeine delay. Dan waits 90 to 120 minutes before having his first cup of coffee. This allows his brain to naturally clear out the sleep-inducing adenosine, giving him smooth, jitter-free energy without the afternoon crash.
And what about his diet? Can he eat to keep cortisol low?
Absolutely. He eats a balanced breakfast to stabilize his blood glucose. To further armor his body, he can supplement with omega-3 fatty acids, which clinical trials show can reduce cortisol exposure during acute stress by up to 19%. He also includes vitamin C, a powerful antioxidant that is heavily concentrated in the adrenal glands and acts as a buffer against physiological panic.
Look at the difference. Dan didn't run himself into the ground. He didn't starve himself. He simply stopped fighting his body and started communicating with it. By hydrating properly, delaying his caffeine, and using a simple 5-minute somatic ritual to signal safety to his vagus nerve, his body is no longer in a chronic preservation state. The biological locks are broken. The visceral fat isn't trapped anymore. It is finally free to burn. 5 minutes of somatic signaling will beat 30 minutes of stressed-out cardio every single time when it comes to stubborn belly fat. Tomorrow morning, before you pour that coffee, I challenge you to try 1 minute of the anchor, 1 minute of the compression, and 3 minutes of the cyclic sigh. Try it out and let us know in the comments how your nervous system and your waistline feels. And if you want to learn more simple ways to build a healthier body, make sure you hit that subscribe button. From all of us here at BodyWise, stay wise, everyone.